We are just hours away from a major split screen in this year's presidential election. At 2:30 p.m. Eastern, although he'll be in the Pacific time zone today, former President Donald Trump will be at the southern border in Cochise County, Arizona. And Trump is set to highlight his plan to end the immigration crisis, Biden and Harris's border crisis. And he's going to call out the failures of the Vice President Kamala Harris, no doubt. And the event just hours before the biggest moment of Kamala Harris's political career. Kamala Harris will prosecute border states. I mean, that's what her past includes. And you've told me many times, California has a wall. They got that big fence line, so it might be easier to prosecute there, but that's not what she did anyway. And she's not doing it now.
No, she campaigned for then-president the last time on fixing the immigration crisis, right? And then she became the border czar, which since then has been denied. But we watched as she utterly failed in terms of any type of bridging, any type of relationships with the central and southern governments, even though it was touted to us that her experience would lend her able to do so. Now, the credibility has been extinguished, in my opinion, because as a Californian, I resided under her DA watch, under her senator watch, and under her AG watch, and nothing got accomplished. Well, cut to today, where under the Harris-Biden administration, we have millions of illegal immigrants throughout the country, spikes in crime, the complete and utter erosion of the safety and protection of those people that are streaming across our border. So for someone that said that they are seeking amnesty for all, compassion, care, and the humane treatment of all, that has been sorely missed as a mark under her watch. And now there's an utter denial of the crisis, the utter crisis that has plagued the states along the border and all 50 that have unfortunately suffered because of those policies and the drugs streaming across. So the notion now that all of the blame lies with a prior administration, the notion that now we should trust her to actually take up the helm and support the Border Patrol, support the states that have sued her administration for failing to protect them, it's utter hypocrisy, and it's not going to fly.
Well, that's how you prosecute a case. She should know. Former federal attorney. Marie Harf, it's interesting because that subject hasn't come up in any substantive way at 3 days, and now we're into our 4th day of the DNC convention. Yet it's in a top 3, rocking that way for more than a year among Americans polled across the country. Why not? Former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, with us today, who also can prosecute a case. Kevin.
Well, what's shocking to me is right after they were sworn into office, a few months later, we watched the border explode because of their policies. The first thing they did on the day they were sworn in is stop finishing the wall. They literally took that equipment and hid it away. The other thing, when I went and toured the border in 2021, right after that, talking to the border agents, there's 2 things that picked up. When I interviewed the people who were coming over, they said they came over because Biden-Harris invited them to. Secondly, the border agents told us what they really found was terrorists on the watch list were coming over. I put this out in a press conference, and Ruben Gallegos, a congressman from Arizona, a border state, now the Democrat nominee for Senate in that state, challenged me and said I was lying. And what did we find out? Not only was I telling the truth, he never apologized, but we found just in the month of February that they caught more people on the terrorist watch list. And think how difficult it is to get on that list than we caught the entire 4 years under the Trump administration. So maybe they changed their behavior because they're running for office, but they already did so much damage to our country that if you go to the state of Massachusetts, their #1 issue, where their Democratic governor actually has a state of emergency because of the southern border. In the city of New York, the #1 issue is the border. And what you're finding throughout this entire nation, if there's less money in your city and you're far from the border because they're housing people that was flown into your city unbeknownst to you the night before, and you no longer have enough money for police or the parks or for the schools, this is because Kamala Harris was the czar of the border and failed in her job.
A recent Fox News poll is asking what best describes the situation in the U.S. southern borders. Emergency, they call it, 44%. A major problem, 43%. A minor problem, 11%. And I want to drill down just a little bit, Kaylee, before I go to you. In February of 2019, the emergency category was 27%. And In February of 2024, it was 41%, and now it's 44%. Kaylee.
So Maurice says the official numbers have lessened. That is true. But here's what the official numbers do not include. Parolees, those leased into the interior of the United States, 1.9 million known gotaways. Our own Bill Malhusian, who's actually at the border often, has talked about ICE being overwhelmed. So the official number doesn't tell the whole story. But let me say one thing. I was coming here and I was looking at a liberal network and I was reading what they had at the lower part of their screen. And it said star-studded convention. And that's true. Oprah stood behind me. Little John came out and surprised everyone. There are reports that Katy Perry will be here tonight. We just heard the Dixie Chicks sing. I guess they're called the Chicks now. There's been a lot of stars. But there's some names that haven't been mentioned. Laken Riley, a college girl who went for a run and lost her life. Rachel Morin, a mother of 5 who went for a run and lost her life. Jocelyn Ngari, a 12-year-old girl who went to the convenience store and lost her life. All by illegal immigrants, all preventable, all a result of the perilous, dangerous, and irresponsible Harris-Biden border policies. You don't need legislation. You need a pen, and you need the will. And Harris could not find it in herself for 3.5 years to go to Biden and say, pick up your pen, whip out 212F, sign this into law because another girl should not lose their life. It is inexcusable. It is disqualifying for the role of President of the United States.
Well, and she's being peddled as, pick her because she's a woman in some categories. Yes, because of her skin color and others, or her biracial makeup. But this idea of just being a human being that needs to be doing the right thing, that's what really needs to be hit at this point, because it's definitely hurting our country.
Yep.
The problem at the border. Vice President Kamala Harris does not have a policy page on her campaign website. This is laughable, though, because when you go there are 3 pages deep. Every time you click continue, it's donate.